So our goal today is for you to be able to use the formula for cones, pyramids, and spheres to be able to find the volume of those solids. So in general, except with the exception of a sphere, for a cone and a pyramid, so basically anything with a point on top, is going to use the formula volume is equal to 1/3 the area of the base times the height. If you struggle with that 1/3, then it's the area of the base times the height divided by 3, if you need to know how to deal with that 1/3. So we need the area of the base. So the base all depends on what the shape of the base is. If it is a cone, then it's a circle. For number 2, it's a rectangle. For number 3, it's a rectangle. For number 4, it's a hexagon. Okay, so we're going to use the different formulas for those bases depending on what they are. Don't forget the divide by 3. That is the hardest part to remember. Okay, so we've got our formula, so it's 1/3, and it's the area of the base. Then the base is a circle, so 1/3 pi r squared h. So it will be 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height, and the height is always that vertical height, right? We've got slant height, but we don't use slant height here. We use regular height. So times 6. So it says to round your answer to 2 decimal places. I could, that's 32 pi, so I could leave this in exact form. But in approximated form to 2 decimal places, it's 100.53 centimeters squared. Okay, so we've got the same thing for number 2. We've got our base. So we need the area of our base. The area of our base would be 5 times 3, which is 15. So the volume is 1/3 the area of the base times the height, and we're looking for that height up through the middle. So it's times 4. So 1/3 of 15 is 5, and 5 times 4 is 20. So it'd be 20 inches cubed. Oh, and I said centimeters, but it should be centimeters cubed, not squared. Now on number 3, notice that this is an oblique pyramid. Okay, we still want to look for that same thing. You're looking for that vertical height, not that slanted height. When you're using h, it's always going to be that vertical height. And so, but it's not going to change anything. It's still 1/3 the area of the base. The base is a rectangle, so it's 7 times 6, which is 42. So the area of the base times the height, our vertical height, which is 9. So we would have 42 times 9 divided by 3, and you get 126 inches cubed. Okay, now for number 4. So you realize, okay, it's a pyramid. I need to use 1/3 the area of the base times the height. And then you're like, oh, wait, I got to find the area of the base. That's a regular polygon, so that means it's 1/2 the apothem times the perimeter. So 1/2 the apothem. Well, I don't have the apothem, but I know how to find it. Remember, it goes from the center to the vertex, or to the side, perpendicular to the side. So remember, that cuts my 10, or our 10 can come right here. This is the same thing we've been doing. It's half the side length times the square root of 3. Or if you need to finish out that right triangle, that 30, 60, 90 right triangle right there, you can. If you remember the 10 and the 5, then you can also use Pythagorean theorem. That's fine too, if you remember that the radius is the same as the side length. So the apothem is 5 root 3. The perimeter is 10 times 6 because they are all the same length, so that would be 60. Okay, and then, so if I take that, so that's what, 150 root 3. If I just leave it, I don't want to write the decimals, so I'm just going to leave that square root of 3. I'll deal with that in a minute. So the volume then would be 1/3 the area of the base times the height. And the height is our perpendicular height, so it'd be times 8. And you get 692.82. Now, spheres are different, and spheres are tricky, and this is why. The formula is 4/3 pi r cubed. And I don't know why, but everybody, even though you'll have the formulas, everybody always forgets to cube it. Everybody always wants to square it because that's what we've always been doing. But this is r cubed because we need it to be volume, so we need it to be cubed. So you take the volume is equal to 4/3 pi times 3 cubed. Now, your calculator can handle it. Most of you know how to put in a fraction, but you can also do 4 divided by 3 times pi times 9 cubed. To get that cubed, you can use that little caret key. Okay, that's one way to do it. There's also a cubed option on your math menu. So you would type in 4 divided by 3 times pi times 3 cubed. You would get 36 pi if you leave off the pi, 4 divided by 3 times 3 cubed, or approximately 113.10 to the nearest hundredth, 2 decimal places. And that would be millimeters cubed. Don't forget that cubed, it's so important. Okay, so let's look at some where we're working backwards. So we have our volume. It is a pyramid. So that means volume is 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So volume is 64 equals 1/3 the area of the base. The base is a rectangle, so the area of the base would be 8 times 4. And then we're looking for our height, which is x. So a couple of things that you can do to deal with that 1/3. You can do 32 divided by 3, which is going to give you a decimal, which you're going to need to carry those decimals out. The other easy way to deal with it, and what I like to do is just go ahead and get rid of it, is multiply both sides by 3, and they're going to cancel out like that. So now I have 192 is equal to 32x. Y'all, if you don't do that, if you don't see that, then 32 divided by 3 is 10.66667. So you could have 64 is equal to 10.667, and you'll get pretty close, okay? But it's just as easy to multiply both sides by 3. But you do have an option. Do the math that you can do. If you need to, do the math that you can do and just keep the decimals until the end. Just keep several of them until the end. And so you get that the height is 6. We can do the same thing here. So we've got our volume. Volume is equal to 1/3 the area of the base. And in this case, what I'm looking for is x. So pi r squared times the height, which is 9. Okay, volume is equal to the area of the base. So I'm going to do here, it's kind of easy because you can do the math that you want to do. I didn't before because it would have given me decimals. 32 doesn't divide by 3, but 9 does. So if I've got 147 pi is equal to the 3 and the 9 cancel out and leave me with 3 pi and then x squared. Divide both sides by 3 pi. Notice that those pi's are going to cancel out, which is nice. So you get 147 divided by 3 is 49. So 49 is x squared. I don't care what x squared is. I want to know what x is. So I take the square root of both sides and I get that x is 7. Okay, number 8. I want to find the height of this triangular pyramid. So volume is 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So you can do it all in one step, or you can go over here and look. Well, the area of the base, I need these two sides right here. Don't forget that the area of the base of a right triangle is the two that are perpendicular to each other. Well, this side over here is 10. This is 6. So that's 3 times 2 and 5 times 2. That means this other side must be 4 times 2. It's a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. So the area of this triangle is 6 times 8 divided by 2, which is 24. So my volume is 56 is equal to 1/3 the area of the base times the height, which is x. Again, I can do this math easily. 1/3 of 24 is 8. So 56 is equal to 8x. Divide both sides by 8, and you get that x is 7. So the height of that is 7 meters. All right, so we got a volume of a sphere. As soon as you see that volume of a sphere, write it. Volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So the volume is 972. Pi equals 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, if we go and look, obviously what we're looking for is the radius, but I also want the surface area. In order to find the surface area, that's 4 pi r squared, I got to find r. So I got to do that first. So one thing I noticed, let's clean this up a little bit so it's not quite so ugly. The pi's are going to cancel out. Okay, so the easiest thing to do then would be to multiply both sides by 3. and then divide by 4. You can multiply by the reciprocal, however you want to look at it. Get rid of that 4/3. You can do 972 divided by 1.33333. You can do 972 on your calculator divided by, don't forget parentheses, 4 divided by 3, like that. So several ways that you can handle the algebra side of that. But we're going to multiply by 3/4. So 3 times 972 divided by 4. You get that r cubed is 729 is r cubed. I don't want r cubed, I want r. So I need to take the cube root, just like I take the square root. I'm going to take a cube root, and that gives me that r is 9. Once I know that r is 9 meters, now I can find the surface area. Surface area is equal to 4 pi r squared. Now I know r is 9. And so I get 324 pi. And if I asked for it in decimal form, you could just do 3.4 times pi, and that would be meters squared. So you can't, if I give you the volume and I ask you for the surface area, you have to go back and get the radius. You can't skip over that step. You have to go get the radius. But if you'll write the equation, then you'll see that's the only thing that you